getting to Kansas City. So they took care of business against the Los Angeles Chargers. That was actually if I were a betting man game, I said take the Chargers and the points, take Kansas City to win. But every single time Mahomes and Herbert face off, it's always a shootout. It's always down to the wire. It's always which quarterback has the ball in his hands last. We've seen Herbert beat Mahomes. We've seen Mahomes beat Herbert on a number of times, obviously yesterday included. What I should have factored into which, by the way, in the first half, it was a shootout. Mahomes actually threw a pretty rough interception in that first half. However, I forgot to mention, again, this is an error on my part. I apologize out there. But I totally forgot that Kellen Moore is the offensive coordinator for the Chargers. And what I loved, then I'll get to Kansas City because that's, to me, the much bigger story. We know Brandon Staley's a bad coach. I don't need to elaborate on that. I think his track record is pretty self-explanatory. But can we kind of have Patrick said, a come-to-Jesus moment? Can we have a come-to-Jesus moment on Kellen Moore? I told y'all Chargers fans, y'all 13 Chargers fans out there, the organization had to put AI fans in the stadium back in week 1 to try and get some Chargers fans out there. But to the Chargers fans out there, is Kellen ain't the guy. Kellen wasn't the guy with Dak, and Kellen isn't the guy with Herbert. There was a play in the second half. I think it was late third quarter, early fourth quarter. I was watching all the 4 games, including my Steelers against the Rams. But did you see that third down and long? It's like I have PTSD watching this. The third down and long, and what did Kellen Moore call? Curl routes. My man, listen, if there's one thing I'll give Kellen Moore, I'll give him this. The dude's consistent on his play calling. The man loves him some curl routes. It's unbelievable. You could see it coming from a mile away. Dak had to deal with this nonsense. That isn't like McCarthy's much better. Problem is, as I said last week, McCarthy's too conservative. Kellen was too cute. Can we find a healthy medium? Doesn't look like that's the case for the time being in Dallas, but this isn't about Dallas. It's about the Chargers. And really, in the long run, it's actually about the Kansas City Chiefs, who had their best performance of the season offensively yesterday. Patrick Mahomes was absolutely spectacular. Threw for over 300 yards in the first half alone. Finished with 424 on 32 of 42 completions. 4 touchdowns, the aforementioned interception, but had a QBR of basically, if you round up, 92 and a passer rating of 129. This, by the way, without much of a running game yesterday, although they did throw the ball 42 times. So, of course, you're going to want the ball in Mahomes' hands as much as possible. By the way, that Kelsey guy, he's pretty good, right? 12 catches for $179 and a acrobatic touchdown, going backwards, having the offensive line push him in the end zone. He had 12 catches. He made 1 catch. Travis made 1 catch near the sidelines in that game. I forget when it was, and made the catch. I think it was near the cheerleaders, and they were wearing short skirts. And there was a Kansas City fan in the stands who was wearing a t-shirt. Yeah, that didn't land as well as I thought it would. I'm gonna hide. That was bad. That was really bad. I'm trying. Swifties, I'm trying. Okay, I know there's a lot of material to work with. I myself may not be a Swiftie. I'm trying to include y'all. Okay, that's my best effort. I'll be better next week. I promise. Who the Chiefs play? Who the Chiefs play next week? Play the Broncos. Okay, Kelsey's gonna score a touchdown against the Broncos. Okay, I'll be better. But sort of piggybacking off of in all seriousness, though, for Kansas City, why do I think they had their best performance of the year, offensively, at least yesterday? We get it's a bad Chargers defense. That goes without saying. That certainly factored. I said it last week when they played the Broncos. I think Kansas City's bored. I think Kansas City's dealing with a little bit of a "are we there yet" syndrome, which, they're doing it pretty well because they're 6-1. Where it's, again, the first part of Kansas City's schedule outside that opening game against Detroit, and then they had at Jacksonville next week where they weren't that good offensively. After that, Bears and the Jets and the Vikings and the Broncos and Chargers, though. Chargers have beaten them in the past before. Herbert has played well against that Kansas City defense before, against that same Kansas City defensive coordinator. Like that's a game you wake up for. Herbert's one of the few guys in the league that can go toe to toe with Mahomes, and we saw him do it in the first half yesterday, not so much in the second half. Again, I think play calling is a big reason for that, but we've seen them do this. And so what I think is going to happen next week, they play the Broncos in Denver. They're 8-point favorites. Listen, it depends on what happens. I'm already almost leaning Broncos in the points. Kansas City to win, of course. They're not losing to Denver. They haven't lost to Denver since Obama was president. However, I'm thinking about taking the Broncos the points simply because that's another Yeah, it's Denver. We haven't lost to Denver in 8 years. We'll beat the Broncos. We'll sleepwalk our way to a win against the Broncos, just like we did 10 days ago, 11 days ago. But then you got to buy. I'm sorry, you don't have to buy. I apologize. Misspoke there. Then they go to Germany, take on the Dolphins. Tyreek Hill, former Chief. Oh, you're waking up for that game. The country's waking up for that game because it's going to be in the morning. Then he got the Super Bowl rematch against Philadelphia, and they were talking some mad smack after that game. Oh, the refs gave the game to the Chiefs and all that. They're going to be waiting for Philadelphia. Then they got the Raiders, Packers, Then they got the Bills. Oh, listen, the Bills, they beat them last year. Bills have been going after the Chiefs for a while. And they got Cincinnati later in the season. Those going to be the games where Kansas City is like, okay, we got to wake up. We got to play our A game to win. Chargers, given the talent there, given how Justin Herbert's played against the Chiefs in the past, you did have to bring your A game. And Kansas City did, certainly from an offensive perspective. Yes, does the Chargers' defensive woes contribute to that? Of course they do. I think they're the 31st ranked pass defense in football, something crazy, which is mind-blowing given the talent they have there. Again, it points back to coaching, of course. It's Brandon Staley, but at the same time, we've seen Kansas City against some poor defenses have some poor performances. I think they're bored. Well, Mahomes just forget how to play football? Did Andy Reid forget how to coach? Travis Kelce forget how to get open? No, I think it's an are we there yet syndrome. It's we're waiting for the games against Josh Allen and the Bills and Joe Burrow and the Bengals. And again, they do play Justin Herbert later this season again in LA. Justin Herbert and the Chargers and Philadelphia. Like, those are big games for Kansas City. Miami in Germany. That's a big game for the Chiefs. So I think it's a little bit of that. I still think this is the best team in the AFC with respect to the Baltimore Ravens. I still think this is the favorite to win the Super Bowl. I predict them to go back-to-back. Before the year started, I had Kansas City beating Dallas in the Super Bowl. I'm still going to ride with that pick. And I certainly feel great about the Kansas City aspect. And as for Dallas, it's all going to come down to whether or not Dak can carry them because the play calling sure isn't going to do that. But that's neither here nor there. But Kansas City's in a good spot. Kansas City's going to be fine. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.